The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. Bet $50 at WynnBET and get $200 in free bets. Bet big, win bigger with WynnBET. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bets today. We're also brought to you by IPVanish. IPVanish is the official VPN of SGPN, and they're offering 70% off if you go to ipvanish.com/SGP. That's ipvanish.com/SGP. And make sure to check out our new Discord server, the perfect place to interact and sweat bets with the entire SGPN crew. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Welcome, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Monday, August 1st. I don't want to say July, August 1st.
I'd say June.
I was about to say June. I don't know.
You're lucky I was on mute because I was ripping on you. Yeah.
August 1st.
Yeah.
Currently 5:10 on the East Coast, here to break down some exciting news happening in MLB. I know the trade deadline is a day away. We got some moves that have already been made, and we'll also get into the Tuesday schedule on this episode. And joining me, you guys already heard the voices, but I had to bring my main man back, the man that does everything for SGP and the newly launched Tennis Gambling Podcast. He's on the NBA Gambling Podcast with me and Terrell's co-host of the WNBA Gambling Podcast. It's Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, how you doing, buddy? We haven't gotten together in a while, my man.
Yeah, it's been a while. Hope you're doing well. By the way, just that's kind of a side announcement there. The NBA show still exists. We're getting around to it. We'll have an episode at some point in the next couple of weeks. But you picked a hell of a time to have me on because of some of the developments in the last hour or so, which I'm very happy about. I'm assuming you're not, but we'll talk about those in a bit. It's good to be back.
Yeah, this wasn't planned. I messaged Scott early this morning when we did the first pod this morning that, hey, you got time to come on to the MLB pod today? And he's like, yep, I'm game. And some moves involving his team have gone down already, but we'll get into that in a second. Also joining us in the Great Lakes area, you guys already know him, the young superstar of the show, Noah Beanick. Noah, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going, Munaf? I'm doing all right. I absolutely devour the news of the trade deadline. I wish my team was like on the buying side more than the selling side, like Scott's over there with the Bronx Bombers. Exciting times with them because I don't know. Right now, it looks like they've won, them and the Padres look like they've won it so far. But there's one more day, and that one's going to be even more hectic because I assume once the whole Juan Soto craze goes down, and we'll talk about that maybe in a little bit, but like, once he's assumed not leaving or he is leaving, that's when I think a lot of these minor deals are starting to go flying off the radar.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, let's just dive right into it. The news came down that the Yankees acquire Frankie Montas from the Oakland A's, and also there's different pronunciations people are battling on how to say his last name, but I'm going to go with Trevino from the Oakland A's. Scott, I'm going to just let you take this over here, my man, because you were smiling from ear to ear as soon as we got on the stream here with the Yankees getting not only bullpen help, but also getting a starting pitcher in that rotation of the A's ace, Frankie Montas. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Now, I would have preferred Castillo if I had the choice.
Yeah.
However, it seems like the Reds really, really only wanted Volpe. And that was the only way they were going to end up trading away Castillo. The Yankees weren't going to do that. So Montas is definitely a downgrade from Castillo. But considering the fact they kept Volpe and Peraza, and even Dominguez, if you want to talk about him being a future guy, then the Yankees gave up, I believe it was their 5 prospect, their 10, 20, and 21st.
Yeah,
I think that was the rankings there. Now, Trevino, he's not any good. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Like, he was a throw-in in the deal. I'm assuming Oakland wanted to shed some salary because he's been so bad. But I'm going to ignore the Trevino part of it because maybe they'll fix him, maybe they won't. But either way, the main purpose was to get Montas. And Montas is going to be a huge piece for that rotation. Now, when it comes to the other moves that the Yankees made, they also acquired a Scott to join the roster earlier today from the Cubs. So I got representation with my favorite team. Nice. With Efros being traded for pretty much nothing. Gave up a couple of prospects there.
Dude's nasty, too.
Dude's good, yeah, but he's kind of a bit of a side armor. Kind of reminds me of like a Neshek or a Cechek or any of those guys. So he should be a pretty good piece in that bullpen. But the Yankees got a starting pitcher that they needed without giving up any of their main 2 future prospects. It's a big deal. Cashman did a great job. I do like Sears because he pitched well for the Yankees this past season, but in reality, you needed another starter.
Mhm.
It's really a great day for the Yankees. You can argue that they're not done yet. I know that Munaf was joking with me before that they still have to trade Joey Gallo. And if they don't trade him, then everything else is useless because they're not winning a championship with Joey Gallo. But we're going to see what happens. Yankees so far, I think, have to be the biggest winner right now. And I'm trying to be unbiased. But they really traded for everything they needed without, of course, the Gallo stuff, without completely mortgaging the farm system. I mean, what more could you possibly want as a fan?
No, I mean, I think that they hit the nail on the head here. Like you mentioned, they didn't give up any other top prospects. They landed an arm in that rotation that they needed. You can say maybe they got some bullpen help there, but who knows? There might be another trade still to be made here by the New York Yankees. But as a Yankees fan, you definitely have to be excited about what they were able to do today before the trade deadline here. And like we mentioned, they still have one more piece of trade to make with Joey Gallo, and there are some suitors there for Joey Gallo. So hopefully they're able to get him off of the team here and get for the New York Yankees.
Well, I was going to ask though. You said suitors as in plural.
Suitors.
I think there's really one.
I
thought Milwaukee was rumored, which might segue us into the next trade we're going to talk about. But Milwaukee was rumored. Then they kind of punted the season. Like we're going to have to talk about that in a second, but I think it'd be weird if Milwaukee now traded for Gallo after the move they made today. I see Atlanta. I think Atlanta's realistic because Duvall got injured and he's out for the year. But I know Milwaukee was rumored to get him or to consider getting him. Does it make much sense for them to get him now?
I don't think Milwaukee punted on the season. I actually think it does sort of make sense for their build and what they're trying to do. Hader would have been a free agent next year. They can't pay for him. So they had to get what they could for him. And I actually think that, you said the Yankees won it the day at least because there's one more day here. But the Padres could put up a very good argument with that as well. Acquiring a top 3 closer in the game right now, left-hander, weird arm angle. Josh Hader has had a rough July, but overall, I still think he's a top 3 closer in our game right now. And it's just kind of the way that the Brewers are kind of run here. They get rid of one of their highest priced guys and they get a couple of guys back. They got Taylor Rogers, who was San Diego's closer, who's actually been struggling right now as well.
I was going to say, are you happy with that return?
No, I don't think you're like very happy with it, but he's controllable. He's got like another year and a half on his contract from what I believe. And your closer now is going to be Devin Williams, who's been one of the best relievers in the game right now. So I really don't think that they are out of the running. They also got Dinelson Lamet, who's an interesting arm in that deal. Milwaukee did. So I still think that they could still compete to win this NL Central, given that maybe the Cardinals do not land this Juan Soto thing and it goes into the offseason like you think.
I'm not saying they're going to lose the division. I'm just saying if you want to talk about any pipe dream title chances, it seems like Milwaukee was refusing to fully invest into making a move that would put them over the top, or at least to have some type of financial responsibility for Hader for several years. And I know the Brewers fan base a little bit annoyed that the front office keeps cutting corners, but either way, I think they could still win the division because the NL Central is terrible. I mean, it's only them and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I just meant they kind of punted it from the sense that they're not going to win a World Series. I'm not saying they're going to win one with Hader anyway, but
it's tough to see them winning it. But I would say it avoids a rebuild and it keeps them winning for a few more years down the road because they do not have the farm system to have a quick rebuild. Let's just say that one.
Well, I am going to ask you, though, do you like the actual return for Milwaukee? Because, of course, I think San Diego won the trade. I think it's a no-brainer. You get Hader in there. You're going to get Tatis back off the IL in probably a week. And the Padres are finally ready to take an all-in stance, and they're going to try to do something. So I respect that move. For Milwaukee, I know Ruiz is a very sought-after prospect, or he was. I watched him play with San Diego. I thought he was a pretty good contact hitter, basically no power, but he's got a bunch of speed.
Speed and contact.
I was going to say, that's basically it. But Lamet, I don't know what to think of because I liked him when he was healthy, but he can't stay healthy.
Good gamble, though.
It's a gamble. And then you have Rogers, who's been a mess. Is that really the best you could have done for Hader?
I think you get an established MLB starter or reliever with Lamet. He can go distance in the bullpen. He has been a bottom-end closer in the MLB, but he has experience in that role. So he's a good leverage situation left-hander for you to replace. I assume that Williams is going to be the closer, and he do his best attempt to replace Hader as a left-handed leverage guy. And then Ruiz, he'll be up in a year or two, and he's got extreme speed to go in that outfield with the power bats. As of right now, it's Renfroe and Yelich. I assume Yelich is still going to be there, but we don't know about Renfroe. But he's a good mix to go with both of those good bats, but not really defenders. But I think, like you said, I think the Padres won this trade. And it's also, we should mention, they signed Joe Musgrove for 5 more years too. So the hometown guy's staying there. He's going to nail that rotation down for the next 5 years. He's very good signing, and I'm sure our guy Johnny Junta's happy with that.
I am going to ask Munaf, though, because it seems like we're slightly disagreeing about Milwaukee's return. You seem a little bit higher on what they got than
no,
me.
For me, for every time I think of Milwaukee, I don't care about I don't care about the moves that they make as pitching wise. For me, it's their offense. Like, they haven't really done anything like to upgrade the offense. It's like they're always bottoms in the league as far as runs scored, batting average. I think that's where I would be as a fan if I was a Milwaukee Brewers fan, is where I want to see upgrades made by the front office on this offense. Like, we know that the pitching, they have 2 solid top of the rotation guys with Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. You're getting Peralta back as well. Your bullpen, your back end guys are great. It's just offensively for me, like, they haven't done anything really to upgrade the batting order. I mean, you have Christian Yelich, you have Rowdy Tellez who can hit bombs, but other than that, like, for me, it's guys out there kind of hoping get hot and something happens, but it hasn't happened for them. I want to see them go out and get a consistent bat in that batting order for the Milwaukee Brewers. That's where I'm kind of at with the Brewers.
And that's kind of my point that I'm going to ask you then, Munaf, because you're getting Peralta back, so you do have a big a three-headed monster for the playoff series, and Milwaukee has done nothing for the offense for the last couple of years. So I just find it very weird that Milwaukee just decided to fully pull the plug. You still could have flipped Hader after the season. I just find it weird you pulled the plug now, but since I want to ask about the return, Munaf, I'm going to ask you as kind of the tiebreaker. Do you think Milwaukee got enough? Because I don't think so. Am not a fan of their return at all.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I was kind of on the fence about it, but if you're kind of looking at it, it's not – I don't think it's a lot. I mean, Taylor Rogers is he's second in the National League or in the entire MLB in saves. Josh Hader was number 1. And we talked about it with Hader that he was having a great season prior to July. Okay, he got in some trouble, but what pitcher doesn't? They go through slumps. But I just don't feel like it was enough for what Josh Hader has done for this organization for them to, not get enough back from the San Diego Padres, in my opinion.
I just think if you're going to trade your star closer and you're going to try to kind of find a middle ground between contending with quotes and rebuilding, you got Rogers and Lamet. You really couldn't get another young prospect in there?
And they could have, and they didn't, right? Because they do have and maybe they're saving those prospects for a Juan Soto deal, so who knows? One more trade,
sort of just a rental.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's the price.
Yeah, one more trade that did go down: the Astros acquiring Trey Mancini from the Baltimore Orioles. Being down here in Houston, they were in rumors with Josh Bell from the Washington Nationals, but they do get Trey Mancini probably to be the replacement for Michael Brantley in that lineup, or even possibly Yuli Gurriel, who has been struggling, but I think it's more so for Michael Brantley, who I don't think he'll be back this season because of the injuries that he is battling, but Mancini, guy that can play first base for you, can play outfield as well. Initial thoughts on this trade, if you have any, Noah, for Mancini to the Astros?
So I guess I don't really have any thoughts for the teams in general. I think it's a 3-team trade between Houston, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I think everybody got what they wanted. I think baseball's good guys kind of took a hit here because Trey Mancini, he's been Baltimore forever.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to stay there for most of his career. When you think of Baltimore, he's been the guy for the past few years.
Mhm.
So it's tough seeing him leave that team, knowing that he wanted to win in Baltimore. It's also tough seeing the ramifications of the deal. Tampa Bay got involved. They got Jose Siri, the young center fielder from Houston. He's going to fill in for the injured Kevin Kiermaier for the rest of the year with Tampa Bay. But it's tough. They DFA'd Brett Phillips. So it's like the good guys of baseball took a hit today.
Yeah. Scott, any thoughts on Mancini to Houston?
I think it's one of those classic reinforcement trades, which you're not really going to read much into on a day-to-day basis. But if Mancini ends up with a big hit with first and second, 2 outs in the playoffs, then you're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those spots where Houston, even though they've been very good this season, offensively, their numbers are pretty middle of the road. So if you want to talk about getting a guy who could potentially give you a big hit when you need it, gives you a little bit of power, can also play a couple positions, so you do have some versatility there. Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense for a team that is going to be easily in the playoffs, potentially with home field throughout the entire American League, trying to give one last, I'd say, effort to provide a jolt to the offense. Now, Mancini this year has not been great, but we know he's capable of doing it. Yeah. And I like the move for Houston. Now, for the other teams involved, I actually like the move for Baltimore. And I know that they're a fun story. They had the big winning streak. People were betting on them to win the American League for some reason if they hate money. But still, the point is it seems like the front office knew that they were ahead of schedule. This wasn't supposed to be their year. They have a lot of very solid young pieces that have looked pretty good so far in their young MLB careers. And they decided it was time to get rid of a veteran for some younger pieces. And it might not make people happy that have money on Baltimore to make the playoffs, but I mean, they're trying to do it building on the future. And Baltimore's future is probably, what, a year or two down the road?
I agree with you. I like the deal.
100%.
So I like that move. And Tampa's just in there for some reason. And they got a center fielder or an outfielder for Kiermaier as a replacement. But I mentioned it before we went on air. I'm a little bit confused on what Tampa's doing. It's like they're trying to salvage the season, but they're, of course, one of the cheaper organizations in all of baseball. So I find it weird that when everybody got injured, Franco's out, Zunino's out, Kiermaier's out for the year, half the bullpen's injured, Glasnow's not going to return, they decide to trade for Peralta and Siri. Do you think it's a little bit weird with the timing that Tampa's actually buying at the deadline? Because I thought they'd be selling.
I think the timing's actually fitting because you see Boston struggling here and Baltimore selling. The argument I don't think they're a very strong playoff team, but this is going to keep them in that playoff race and probably slot them in that 7th or 6th wild card spot. Munaf?
Yeah, I think the Rays were dealing with a lot of injuries too. Like we were talking about it offline with Kiermaier gone for the season. Eventually, you're going to get Wander Franco back. But Siri's, being a local guy here in Houston, I mean, he's a pretty good. He's going to be their everyday outfielder now with Noah just said there with Kiermaier gone for the season, and I'm kind of looking at the wild card standings here that they are currently. Let's see, they're right in that the 3rd spot in that wild card positioning. So they're kind of going for it. They got David Peralta from the Diamondbacks earlier this week. And then they also right now got Jose Siri. You're expecting guys to come back in this lineup. So, I mean, they're not a World Series contender, I don't think. But, Tampa Bay Rays are just one of those teams that are always in contention or always making the playoffs, but always have that first round exit, whether it's, to the Yankees or the Red Sox last year, whatever the case might be. But, I guess they're just trying to make things exciting over in Tampa Bay and really compensate for the injuries that they have been dealing with.
Yeah, the Siri acquisition I like because he's young.
Yeah.
It's really the Peralta one, which doesn't make any sense to me, which is why I'm kind of confused why they decided to buy a rental.
Yeah.
That is the one that has me scratching my head. The Siri one, I like Siri. He's a young player. He's got talent. Sure. He can build with the rest of the core.
Yeah.
A 1-year rental with an injury-prone player, Peralta, while your team's already injured to hell? Like, I don't really get that move, but that wasn't today. That was a couple days ago. Do you understand that move?
I didn't get it either. It kind of was head-scratching for me, but also was kind of like the amount of injuries that this team had, I feel like they just had to make some type of move. But yeah, I don't know. It probably does turn into a rental for the Tampa Bay Rays there.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Let's get into the Tuesday game schedule. As usual, we'll go through every single game. A couple of changes that did happen because of the trade. So Frankie Montas was slated to go tomorrow against the Angels, but that has been scratched now. But before we get into the schedule, let me tell you guys about our presenting sponsor, WinBet. Make sure to get down on WinBet, $50 win, $200 promotion, where a $50 bet qualifies you for up to $200 in free bets. Plus, if you're betting baseball, and you are because you're listening to this podcast, check out WinBets and their reduced juice in baseball games. It really makes them the best place to bet on MLB. There's so much to choose from, and all you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bets today. Offers up to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 years or older and present in a state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And also come join the SGPN Discord and make sure to check out our new Discord server. It's really the perfect place to interact and sweat bets with the entire SGPN crew. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. All right, gentlemen, let's get into this Tuesday schedule in Major League Baseball. Let's kick it off with the first game, early afternoon game on Tuesday. It's a 4:10 Eastern start. Colorado Rockies in San Diego to take on the Padres. Jose Urena on the mound for the Colorado Rockies, and Yu Darvish on the mound for the San Diego Padres. Looking at the lines for this game, I am currently seeing... I do not see lines for this game yet.
I was going to say it's a double header, so they might be flipping some pitchers.
So let's just go with the two listed pitchers that we do have here, gentlemen. I will let you lead this one off here, Scott.
Well, I mean, the Padres are going to be laying about 200 or higher. I mean, it's a no-brainer even with no posted lines. So the real question is, you taking San Diego on the run line or not? And the Rockies have Urena on the mound, who's been actually okay. Like, his numbers aren't great, but for the Rockies pitching staff, he's actually been decent, or at least better than they thought he was going to be. Darvish, though, has been very solid, 9-4 this season, 3.24 ERA. You look at the home numbers, he's been amazing. 1.94 ERA at Petco. Do we know exactly when Tatis is coming back? Like, is there a chance he plays in this game, or are we still like a week out?
I think he's still maybe a week or two away from.
Still got a couple of rehab assignments to go.
Yeah, so, I don't think that he's even hitting the ball off a tee yet.
Okay, no, he was taking BP the other day.
Yeah, he was taking BP. That's what I was asking.
Yeah. Okay.
But either way, I got to go with San Diego here. The Rockies, it's a usual Colorado team. They're not very good. They're somehow around 500 or above 500 at home, and they're one of the worst road teams in the league. We see it every year. And San Diego just made their all-in push. I'm assuming that Hader will be on the roster for this doubleheader because he'll be able to travel. So that kind of shores up some of the bullpen concerns I had for San Diego, which was the main concern I had with their team. So I guess the one concern you have is San Diego's offense actually going to show up for this game. But with Darvish on the mound against an awful road team, I got to like San Diego on the run line here. It's going to be very public-y, but I got to go with Darvish at home.
Yeah, Darvish, like you mentioned, he's been absolutely solid at home. That's what really kind of is a tipping point for me. 5-1 with a 1.94 ERA, like you mentioned there, Scott. I agree with you 100%. Noah, you have anything for this game?
I think, with the way that they've kind of rejuvenated their franchise and the team and the fans, I think they go out there and perform pretty well in this doubleheader. And honestly, Colorado away from home, and then you look at the trend this year, it's been when the Padres do win, they win by 2 or more. So 1.5, the run line here, like Scott mentioned, it's probably going to open. They're going to be 200. The run line looks enticing.
All right, let's keep it moving here, guys. Next game on the board, Cincinnati Reds in Miami to take on the Marlins, a 6:40 Eastern start. Graham Ashcraft on the mound for the Cincinnati Reds, and Braxton Garrett on the mound for the Miami Marlins. Looking at the opening lines for this game, Miami Marlins are a -120 favorite at home. The Reds are even money on the money line. Over/under set at 8. Slight juice towards the under at -115. Run line -1.5, +155 for the Marlins, and +1.5, -180 for the Cincinnati Reds here. Noah, I'll let you lead this one off. Marlins versus the Reds.
Yeah, so I just want to throw out a disclaimer here before I cap any of my games. I have 10 teams on my slate that I have the lead handicap for, all 10 of them could be buyers or sellers here at the trade deadline. This is one of the most frustrating days to handicap baseball games. And it feels like every one of these could be buyers or sellers. The first game, Cincinnati, Miami, both of them could be selling here. I don't know if Drury's going to be gone. I don't know if half this Miami bullpen is going to be gone because they have somewhat held water with Anthony Bass back there. And they also have Bender as well, who's been injured. But just what were you going to say, Scott?
I was going to say, I can guarantee you on the bright side, the Reds will not be buying.
No, I don't think either one really will be intimate buyers. Miami might get one piece to try to compete for a wild card spot, but I actually think that they might sell some of that bullpen. But just last week, these two teams split a 4-game series, barring any trade deadline activity from the two teams. Graham Ashcraft, he's 4-2 on the year. 6 of his 12 starts have been quality. 4.64 ERA, 46 strikeouts, 17 walks, 66 innings pitched this year. He has a 6.92 ERA on the road. And then for Miami, Braxton Garrett's going. He's 2-4 on the year with 3 of his 10 starts that are quality. 3.96 ERA to 55 strikeouts, 12 walks, and 52.1 innings pitched. He's had 7 strikeouts or more in his last 3 games. I like Garrett. I lean the Marlins to win this game, but I think both teams' pitching staffs are going to give up plenty of runs to cover the over here. So I got runs scored on Cincinnati throughout the whole game. I like Miami to win it. And then I think that Cincinnati is going to tack a few on Garrett because he is prone to giving up a couple of runs here.
Yeah, Graham Ashcraft, thing that really kind of, differentiates for him is that at home 3-1 with the 3.46 ERA, road 1-1 with a 6.66 ERA. Been great in Cincinnati, but on the road is where he gets in trouble. His last start, like you mentioned there, Noah, was against Miami at home, but he went 6 2/3 innings in that game. Gave up 8 hits, 3 earned runs in that game, 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. And Braxton, I was about to say Braxton Miller, but Braxton Garrett, his last start against the Reds wasn't very good either. 5 innings pitched. He also gave up 5 earned runs in that game as well. Did strike out 8 in that game, but I feel like this number is a little conservative on the total as well. I will lean with the Marlins here as well. Scott, do you have any thoughts for this game, Reds and Marlins?
Over. I can't only pick a side with either team, but I get the idea of pricing 2 terrible offenses in a pitchers-friendly park at 8. These pitchers aren't good enough for an 8. I get the idea and the logic behind it, but the bullpens, you mentioned how
Cincinnati's bullpen's the worst in the league. So
worst in the league. Miami might be dumping some of the pitchers. We're not sure. And both lineups aren't great, but they're still professional hitters. I mean, you're against 2 pitchers who've been pretty underwhelming, and you get a win automatically if both teams get to 4 because you got the extra inning draw. I got to like the over.
Yeah. I want to mention this too. I did my little disclaimer. I don't like that it's at 6 o'clock this year Eastern time, because all these games are starting right at like 6 here, or like this one's 4:10. This is technically 1 on the first one was technically 1 on the West Coast, but we're gonna have some in-game trades, I think.
Yeah, and again, that's why you got to kind of take the at least to tomorrow or on Tuesday here as with grain of salt. So definitely, I would have my notifications on for Tuesday, especially with the trade deadline day in MLB. But let's keep it moving here, guys. Next game on the board: Milwaukee Brewers in Pittsburgh to take on the Pirates. 7:05 Eastern start. Burns on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers and Wilson on the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Looking at the lines for this game: -245 on the money line for the Milwaukee Brewers, +205 for the Pittsburgh Pirates on the money line. Over under set at 8 with juice towards the under at -120. On the run line, -1.5, -140 for the Brewers, and +1.5 and +1.5, +120 for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Corbin Burns, another great year he's having, Cy Young caliber year. He's 8-4 on the season with a 2.31 ERA, 160 strikeouts and 31 walks. Over his last 5 games, he's been absolutely phenomenal. 2-0 with a 2.01 ERA, 7 earned runs allowed, and only 31 1/3 innings pitched. 2 starts this season against the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he is 2-0 with a 2.08 ERA, 13 innings pitched in that span, 3 earned runs allowed, 15 strikeouts to 4 walks. His last start wasn't, I guess, Corbin Burns quality because he did give up 3 earned runs in 6 innings. That was against the Minnesota Twins. But like I mentioned, the 2 starts that he has had against the Pirates this year, he is a perfect 2-0, and I'm trying to look up the run line in those games. Back on July 1st. The Brewers won that game 19-2 against the Pirates, and then back on April 19th, Brewers also won that game in Corbin Burns' squad by 5-2 on the run line as well. Wilson has not been very good, I guess we can say, for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1-6 on the season with 6.31 ERA. He has had good outings against the Milwaukee Brewers. 10 innings, he's only given up 2 earned runs, but recently he hasn't been in good form for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1-3 with a 5.00 ERA. Really only one way I can look in this game. That's going to be the Brewers run line. I know it's still juiced at -140. Possibly looking at Brewers team total in this game as well with Wilson on the mound. But Scott, do you have any thoughts for this game between the Brewers and the Pirates with Burns and Wilson on the mound?
I just can't believe Bryce Wilson's still in the majors. I get that there are a lot of awful teams out there, and you got to have somebody who you can call up and everything like that. And Wilson had an okay run there with the Braves, but I mean, do you really need to see more? Like, he's been awful. Like, I don't know why anybody would think that he's going to suddenly match Burns in a pitcher's duel. I don't see that. I think the Brewers open up a decent lead early. Plus, Pittsburgh already traded some pieces. They got rid of Vogelbach, who was one of the only offensive players I actually liked on that team. But there's nothing to like about Pittsburgh. They've been playing terrible baseball lately. And the Brewers, even though they traded Hader and I question the direction moving forward, they still should have enough to beat Pittsburgh pretty handily here. I'll go with Milwaukee.
Noah?
I'm going to take everything that you guys said because I completely agree. I don't like Wilson. Burns deals against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's 0-7 in the last 7 games, and Milwaukee's 11-4 in their last 15 against Pittsburgh. So everything's going Milwaukee's way here. I like what Insano was saying in the comments. Burns K prop looks enticing. First 5, they're going to jump out to an early lead with Burns on the mound. Money line, run line, take it all. Team total even.
Yeah, Pirates this season, as far as team strikeout percentage on the season, they ranked number 29 out of 30 teams, and over the last 3 games, they're also number 28 out of 30 teams as well. So definitely, we'll be looking at the Burns strikeout props here tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Next game on the board is going to be the New York Mets against the Washington Nationals. 7:05 Eastern start. The return of Jacob Degrom for the New York Mets. Corey Abbott on the mound for the Washington Nationals. Looking at the lines for this game, Mets are a very heavy favorite, almost a $3 favorite here, -280 on the money line. Nationals +235 on the money line. Over under is set at 8.5. Juice at -110 both ways. Run line -1.5, -165 for the New York Mets, and +1.5, +140 on the run line for the Washington Nationals. Scott, I will let you lead this one up, man. The return of Jacob Degrom.
So it's really a tough one because I don't know if Soto's still going to be on the team. I'm assuming he will be for the sake of this breakdown. So Degrom hasn't pitched in a major league game in a while. And I understand that when healthy, he's the best pitcher in the league and it's not really close. But -300? Like, I get the Nationals are a bad team and the Mets have been rolling. They just swept Miami. They're doing very well, but I can't justify taking the Mets. I just can't do it in this spot. On principle, I tend to fade pitchers that are coming off the IL or that have long layoffs because they're extremely mispriced. You said it was plus money, like +140 for the Nationals, +1.5.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm going. Okay. I don't feel great about it. I probably won't bet this game personally, but I cannot wrap my head around laying 300 with a guy who's not pitching the majors in, what, a year?
Yeah, right around a year, exactly, I think.
I can't do it. Now, the Mets could easily win. Wouldn't surprise me. I'd maybe consider a team total over for Washington. If you think Degrom is going to either get pulled after 5, we don't know exactly what the leash is going to be for him in this outing, or if he just struggles. But I actually don't mind taking a spin on the Nationals in some capacity here because people just assume Degrom's going to show up and he's going to potentially have a no-hitter against the Nationals. It's not going to happen. No. Like, I have to be consistent. And if I'm going to fade pitchers coming off the IL or long layoffs in other spots, I'm going to do it for Degrom too. So I'm actually leaning to the Nationals here. I think this price is absurd.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said there. That, number one, he's coming off the IL and hasn't pitched in the majors for right around about a year now. Don't know how long he's going to be out there, whether it's 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. He's going to be on a pitch count. We don't know that information yet. I was trying to scoop that up while you were giving your handicap, but as a $3 favorite, right now you can't get behind that. I don't think anybody will either. But Noah, do you have any thoughts for this game, Mets and Nationals?
Yeah, so my thoughts, I'll address the question by Insano in the chat. He asks, what do you think the K prop will be set for Degrom? I actually think it's going to be like 6.5, 7.5. I like the under because, like Scott mentioned, I think he gets pulled somewhat soon after like 5 or maybe 6 innings, depending on how well he pitches. But I'm not going to entice the Nationals on the money line here. I don't think that they are going to put up enough runs to keep up with this Mets offense right now. They're 6-0 with Vogelbach in the lineup since they've acquired him at the deadline. The Nets bullpen, it's rough. For me, I'm probably just going to stay away from the game because I think it's too juiced on Mets side, and I'm not confident enough in backing the Nationals. My one play, I guess, would be like a first 5 team total on the Mets or something, or an under on Degrom. I hate taking unders on K props just because rooting against guys, but and especially Degrom. But I don't see him pitching long enough to get 8 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts.
And once again, I'm going to be most likely staying away from this game. But if I'm looking at how I'd break it down, I just can't lay 300 here.
No,
I can't do that. I can't do anything.
I don't advise it either.
Yeah, and the Nationals are one of the teams in the league that don't strike out very often. Maybe that's something that will, regress when and if Juan Soto is traded, or even Nelson Cruz is traded as well. And maybe you have young guys in this lineup. But right now on the season overall, they are the second best team as far as team at strikeout percentage at only 19.4. Over the course of the season. So definitely I think we'll be staying away from this game, and just to see how Jacob Degrom really looks coming back after almost or over a year layoff with the injury that he did sustain. All right, guys, next game on the board, it's going to be the Seattle Mariners in Yankee Stadium to take on those New York Yankees. 7:05 Eastern start. Logan Gilbert on the mound for the Seattle Mariners. Jameson Taillon on the mound for the New York Yankees. Looking at the opening lines for this game, I'm seeing the New York Yankees are a -165 favorite, +140 on the money line for the Seattle Mariners. Over under set at 8.5 with juice towards the under at -115. Run line -1.5, +130 for the New York Yankees, +1.5, -150 for the Seattle Mariners. No, I'll let you lead this one off. Mariners and the New York Yankees.
Yeah, so this is one of my only game that I think might be a stretch with both teams might not make a move tomorrow. Seattle, they went out and made some moves earlier here, and the Yankees made all their moves today. They might trade away Gallo. But I think one storyline that I think a lot of people are sleeping on right now is the Julio Rodriguez injury. Yeah. He's on the IL right now, and that kind of saved Kyle Lewis. I thought that Lewis was going to be used as a piece in some kind of deal here at the deadline. I would keep my eye out on this kid because he has plenty of talent, and he's now getting an opportunity that he originally didn't have with J-Rod in center. So my eye would be on Kyle Lewis in this game. In Seattle's last 20 games, take out their 6 losses to Houston, they're 14-0. That next team that resembles Houston, though, it's New York. So I don't really I won't kind of use that one in the handicap of this game. Logan Gilbert, though, did win 2 of those games against Houston. He's 10-4, 10 quality starts, 2.78 ERA on the year, 118 strikeouts, 32 walks, and 123 innings pitched. He's a 2.60 ERA in his last 3 games. 2 of those games against Houston, like I mentioned, and Texas. And then for the Yankees, Jameson Taillon's going. He's got a 10-2 record, 3.72 ERA, 92 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 109 innings pitched this year. He had a 5.50 ERA in July. The Mariners are rolling right now, so I'm going to take Seattle as a dog.
Scott, your Yankees against the Mariners.
Yeah, I like Seattle in the spot. I understand the Yankees tax. It's alive and well, especially after they were buyers at the deadline. Taillon has not been very good.
Yeah.
And it's a big reason why the Yankees made a move for Montes. It's a big reason why the Yankees are still potentially focused on getting another pitcher. I know Yankees fans are still clamoring for Rodon, for example. It's because a lot of the back end of the rotation has not been great. Whether it involves Montgomery, whether it involves Tyone, they've been regressing pretty strongly. And Tyone, he was really good against the Red Sox when I was at the game and they won 14-1. Besides that one start, he's been pretty underwhelming. To go through the other starts around it, 6 innings and no runs against the Royals. That's good, but of course it's the Royals. 2 2.2 against the Orioles for 2 runs. 6 innings, 1 run against the Red Sox. That's the start I said. Start before that, 5 innings, 6 runs against the Red Sox. 5 1/3, 5 runs against Pittsburgh. 5 innings, 3 runs against the Athletics. 5 2/3, 6 runs against Houston. It's not great.
Yeah.
And Gilbert, you can make an argument. He's been Seattle's best pitcher this year, or at least like top 2 pitchers in their rotation. I think I'm looking at Seattle based solely on the price. It's a very good deal, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Gilbert on the road, 6-1 so far this year, 2.47 ERA. He, like Noah mentioned, he's pitched well against the Astros in his last 2 starts, where he only gave up 2 earned runs in about 6 innings pitched. So I do like Logan Gilbert and the Mariners in this spot as well, possibly looking at his strikeout props as well in this game against the Yankees. You have any thoughts on that strikeout prop for Logan Gilbert there, Noah?
Not much. Just the Astros aren't one of those teams that I like to target when it goes to like them striking out often in a game. So it would have to be open pretty low for me to look at it tomorrow. We'll see.
But as far as him facing the Yankees, do you think that's because I think Yankees are one of the teams that do strike out a lot?
My bad. I thought they were facing the Astros.
No, I just mentioned that against the Astros, that he had 2 starts against the Astros where he did have 8 strikeouts and 6 strikeouts in those 2 games respectively. I thought maybe against the Yankees, who do strike out quite often, that that number may be around 6.5 for Logan Gilbert.
For the Yankees, you should blindly wait for the lineups when it comes to whatever, because you got to see if Gallo's playing or not. So that's always
automatic
a huge
3.
I was going to say it's like an automatic. It's an automatic 2 or 3. I'm assuming he's not going to be in the lineup arguably ever again for the Yankees, so we'll see what happens moving forward. But I think I'd have to lean over, because we've seen the Yankees perform well offensively in the later innings, mostly against the bullpen.
Yeah.
Against the starters in the last couple of weeks, they've really not been good for about the first 5. They really have been doing most of their damage in the later innings. And as a result, I think I would take the over with Gilbert, because the Yankees might struggle early on, then maybe get to Seattle's bullpen. But I think
pounce on the pens.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the board, it's going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks in Cleveland to take on the Guardians. 7:10 Eastern start. Pretty good pitching matchup here. Zach Gallen versus Tristan Mckenzie for their respective teams. Looking at the opening lines for this game, I am seeing the Guardians a home favorite of -135, +115 on the money line for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Over under set at 7.5. Juice towards the over at -115. Run line -1.5, +115 for the Guardians, and +1.5, -175 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yeah, I know we're talking about this offline, and I really do like the pitching matchup here between these 2 pitchers. Zach Gallen has been, solid this season, by far the best pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks this season. 5-2 with a 3.24 ERA. Last 5 games, he only has 1 win. He doesn't have any losses, but again, it feels like that he's just not getting the run support in those games. But on the road so far this year, 2-2 with a 3.24 ERA is Zach Gallen. His last 2 starts against teams that are, I guess, not great offensively, which was the Giants and the Washington Nationals. Combined in those 2 games, we even go back further against the Giants. He's faced the Giants 2 out of his last 3 starts. He's gone, 18 2/3 innings pitched, only allowed 3 earned runs in that span. So he's been looking really good. Tristan Mckenzie on the mound for the Cleveland Guardians on the season so far. He is currently 7-7 with a 3.24 ERA, 106 strikeouts with 30 walks. Last 5 games, he's been absolutely brilliant for the Guardians. 3-1 with a 1.34 ERA, 33 strikeouts and 33 innings pitched for the Guardians. Last start against the Red Sox, he did give it up a little bit. 4 earned runs and 7 innings pitched, but outside of that, like I said, he's been brilliant. I wish this number was at 8 so I can take the under in this game. But I'm leaning towards looking at the Diamondbacks' first 5 innings in this game with Zach Gallen on the mound. I think that runs are going to be at a premium here. McKenzie, he has kind of been inconsistent throughout the season. And he hasn't faced the greatest of offenses over his, he faced the Royals, didn't give up any runs there. Tigers, same story there. The White Sox, he gave up 1 earned run in about 5 2/3, but I think this might be a sneaky spot for the Diamondbacks. We won't be getting it, but since we do talk about every game here, I would lean with the Diamondbacks' first 5 in this game. Scott, do you have any thoughts for this game?
I like the first 5 under in this one. I'm not expecting many runs. McKenzie's last 2 home starts, 15 innings pitched, 0 runs. So I don't think Arizona's going to do much offensively. The team total should be very low, though. So if you can get a 3.5, maybe consider it. But
yeah.
I think I'm just looking at first 5 unders here because Cleveland's offense, we know, is a bit streaky. And if you kind of pitch around Ramirez, I don't think anybody else really scares you. Mm-hmm. So I think that Gallen and McKenzie should pitch well. I like the first 5 under. I think you'll see a very low-scoring game before the bullpens get involved.
Noah?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with both of you guys. I feel like this isn't like one of the more optimal plays that I would take on the slate. I wouldn't force anything today, especially with everything that may happen here at the deadline. But I think the most ideal play, if you're looking to have some kind of action on this game, is that first 5 under with both of these guys pitching well lately. So, yeah.
All right. Next game on the board is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays headed to Tampa to take on the Rays. 7:10 Eastern start. Kevin Gausman on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. Drew Rasmussen on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays. Looking at the lines for this game, I'm currently seeing the Blue Jays as a road favorite here. -130 on the money line. Tampa Bay Rays +110 on the take-back price. Over-under set at 7 with juice towards the over at -115. Run line -1.5, +140 for the Toronto Blue Jays, and +1.5, -165 for the Tampa Bay Rays here. Scott, I'll let you lead this one off. Blue Jays versus the Rays.
So it's always difficult when you have a very short money line favorite in a division game. But I think for this one, Gausman's been so damn good. It's really difficult to try to spin it, especially with how Toronto's been playing lately and the fact that they've been playing very well. I think I got to go with Toronto. I criticize Tampa for buying at the deadline or for making some moves. I get they're trying to stay afloat while a lot of their key pieces are injured. The problem is, for an individual game basis, a lot of their key pieces are still injured. So I'm going to go with Toronto because Toronto's been hitting the ball well. They have been pitching relatively well. Gausman, we know, has been very solid. And Rasmussen is a pretty good pitcher, but the length is never there. So you're assuming he'll give you 5. And then they're going to take their chances with the bullpen, but Tampa's bullpen's been hit or miss lately because they have a bunch of injuries. So I'll take the healthier team with more firepower. And for me, the much better offense by far. I'll take Toronto.
Noah?
Yeah, my only position on this game is regarding a huge splash here at the deadline. I'm not too impressed by Toronto. They are rolling right now, but you have to take into account that 4 of those games were against Detroit. So for me, in the long run, I think I'm out on Toronto, but right now I think both teams are in opposite directions right now. Toronto, they're 10-2 in their last 12. Tampa's 2-7 in their last 9 games. I'm kind of with Scott here. I think the moves that Tampa Bay is making right now aren't for the right now. They're for a month down the road, just to kind of they're staying afloat. These aren't win now moves. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and I agree with it. What Insana was saying in the chat there, that there's been points where I've been betting on the Rays where you just can't trust their offense. You don't know who's going to show up, and who's more times than not they haven't been showing up. So I'll go with the Blue Jays here as well with Kevin Gausman on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. I trust their offense a hell of a lot more than the Tampa Bay Rays here as well. Before we keep it going here, let me tell you guys about IP Vanish, the VPN that we use at SGPN. Did you know that using or browsing online using incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? That's right. Without added security, you might as well give away all your private data to hackers, advertisers, ISP, and other prying eyes. That's why we at SGPN use IP Vanish VPN to make it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. You can use IPVanish on unlimited devices without sacrificing on speed. Your computers, tablets, phones, even devices like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. Whether I'm at home or in public, I don't go online anymore without using IPVanish. IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off the yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's like getting 9 months for free. So all you got to do is go to ipvanish.com/SGP and use promotional code SGP and claim your 70% in savings. That's ipvanish.com/SGP. All right, gentlemen, let's keep the ball rolling here. Got an NL East matchup between the Philadelphia Phillies in Atlanta to take on the Braves, a 7:20 Eastern start. I'm seeing Nick Nelson is on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies and Spencer Strider on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. I do not see a line for, actually I do, I'm sorry. -225 for the Atlanta Braves, +190 for the Philadelphia Phillies. Over-under is set at 8. Run line -1.5, -105 for the Atlanta Braves, and +1.5, -115 for the Philadelphia Phillies. Noah, I'll let you lead this one off, buddy. Phillies and the Braves.
Yes, we'll see what happens tomorrow or later tonight. Philadelphia, they could use quite a bit. Bullpen help, outfield. Atlanta, it's mainly just outfield help that they could use. For Philly, though, they're starting Nick Nelson. I don't know if he's been an opener for most of the year, but this is either a normal opening or his first start of the season. He's been more of a 1-inning, 2-inning guy. He's 3-1 with 3.94 ERA, 48 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 48 innings pitched. And for Atlanta, Spencer Strider's going. He's 5-3 on the year, 3.14 ERA, 120 strikeouts, 31 walks, and 80.1 innings pitched. We'll see if Atlanta chooses to limit his innings. He's nearing that threshold where last year he had, I forget how many innings it was, but I know he's getting close to that total. And normally it's like with these guys, they go maybe 30 innings more the next year. So will be interesting to see how they manage Strider, because I assume he's going to be a starter that they want, or at least a long reliever in the playoffs. So they're going to have to manage his arm. He has a 3.23 ERA in July, but take out the 1-5 run game against Washington that he had. He has a 1.23 ERA in those 4 starts. I like Atlanta on the run line this game. I think the money line's a little bit juiced. So that's going to be my play for this one.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I'm biased, though. I watched Nick Nelson with the Yankees for 2 years. I thought he sucked. So I know he's been okay this year, but I've seen the Nick Nelson experience. I'm not a fan. And for just to be completely honest, I mean, I like Strider a lot. I mean, I mentioned the half joke there with Nelson. I still don't trust him because I'm still scarred. But Strider is a very, very solid young pitcher. We've seen his strikeout props be really, really just profitable up to this point.
Yeah.
And the Phillies, I mean, they've done a good job of staying afloat while Harper's been out. Atlanta's still the better team, and they have the better starting pitcher. And I still think that Atlanta is going to take advantage of home field because they're 36-21 at home. So I'll take the run line with Atlanta. Even if Nelson pitches well, he probably will be an opener to some degree. The Phillies bullpen's been better recently, except when Munaf takes the run line. But I'm still going to go with the Braves here because I just think they have the much better actual team and the much better starting pitcher.
That wound was just about closed, and Scott just had to rip it back open.
Yep. I had to bring it back.
I'm not even going to get into it. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. You just have the better pitcher on the mound. The offense for the Braves has been doing well as well. Not much else from me. You talked about the strikeout prop as well. That'll be interesting. See what number it comes out tomorrow. He's the strikeout prop out, at least over his last 2 games. He had 4 against the Washington Nationals, but that was 4 innings, and then he had 6 against the Philadelphia Phillies in his last start, where he was brilliant in that game against his Phillies team. He only gave up 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched to the Philadelphia Phillies. So I think all of us are here on the Atlanta Braves run line for this game. All right, guys, let's keep it moving here. Let's go with the next game on the board, AL Central matchup between the Detroit Tigers and the Minnesota Twins, 7:40 Eastern start. Matt Manning makes his return for the Detroit Tigers in this game. Chris Archer on the mound for the Minnesota Twins. Looking at the lines for this game, I am seeing the Minnesota Twins a minus 195 favorite, plus 165 on the money line for the Detroit Tigers. Over under set at 9 with a little bit of juice towards the under at minus 115. Run line minus 1.5, plus 105 for the Minnesota Twins, and plus 1.5, minus 125 for the Detroit Tigers. I'll leave this one off here, guys. Matt Manning, he's coming back from injury, and I'm sure Noah will expand on this, but he last pitched, I think it was back all the way in April. His last appearance was against that Kansas City Royals team, so not much really to go off of here. I'll let Noah expand on that. But Chris Archer, as a $1.95 favorite, almost a $2 favorite, I don't think I can get behind that. He has really been struggling over his last 2 starts in particular. He gave up 6 earned runs in 3 innings to the Milwaukee Brewers. He gave up 4 earned runs to the Chicago White Sox in 4 2/3 innings pitched. In 2 of his last 3 games, he's given up at least 6 walks to the opposition. So I think that if Detroit is able to stay patient here at the plate and possibly try to draw those walks, I think they can get on base and create some havoc against Chris Archer here. So at a price of minus 195, there's no way I'm putting my money on the Minnesota Twins here. Plus 1.5 on the run line for the Tigers at minus 125 seems like something more up my alley here. But no, I want to get your thoughts on the return of Matt Manning here. If you could give some more information about that.
Manning hasn't really been impressive to me, at least. In the minors, the only reason why he kind of made that jump to the majors was due to, pitching staff injuries last year. And then you look at this year and it's even worse. We're on starting pitcher number 15. But Manning, man, he's so inconsistent. Like, he's just got a straight fastball that goes about 95, and he's dealing with a little bit of shoulder issues. So I don't know what he's sitting at right now. I'm really interested to see this start tomorrow. But before I do anything, I'm waiting to see if we sell this bullpen, because this bullpen is one of the best in the MLB, surprisingly. I'm not used to saying that as a Tigers fan over the years, but it's going to be tough seeing we have Andrew Chafin, Joe Jimenez, Michael Fulmer, and Gregory Soto that could all be dealt here. And otherwise, I would like this plus 1.5 or money line for the Tigers, but if these pieces are being dealt last minute, this bullpen's shredded. There's not enough guys even in Minnesota to get out there to pitch. So for me, I would like a bullet on a Tigers money line or run line if they are there, because surprisingly, we're a terrible offense, but that doesn't strike out really that often. Yeah. And we're patient at the plate.
Most of your guys.
Most of our guys. I won't mention Javi Baez. He's kind of like the right-handed Joey Gallo there. Throw him a slider outside that's 2 feet off the plate. The whole stadium knows it's fucking coming except for him. Sorry. But for me, I forget where I was going.
You said you like the Tigers because you just think there's value on it.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe even first 5. I think I would somewhat be able to talk myself into, hey, Manning could be okay, and the price is just off with Manning's first start, and he hasn't looked impressive. Knowing that, Archer is going to give you 3 or 4 runs due to the traffic on the base paths that happens every start. So it just really depends. I'm not going to have a play on this game, at least until 6-10. But yeah, that's too much that I should have said on this game. I spent too much time on it, but there you go.
Scott, thoughts on this game? Tigers, Twins?
I'm going with Tigers first 5. We talked about the bullpen. It's basically non-existent for Detroit, as it shouldn't be, because they're the only pieces worth a damn. So they had kind of had to get something for prospects. But Archer has been a mess. I know Insano mentioned in the comment section that he likes the walk prop on Archer. He brought it up. I'm not going to tell you to take an under on a walk prop with Archer because he walks half the damn league. But I'm going to go with the Tigers because I mentioned before with Degrom how I typically fade pitchers off the IL. There is a caveat to that. I fade pitchers off the IL when favored because I don't think they should be. I think they're mispriced.
Yeah.
Archer is about minus 200.
Yeah,
I know Manning was good in April. Over in his career, he has not been very good. But the point is, even if Manning is mediocre, he can at least match Archer, because I don't expect much from Archer in this spot, I'm going to go and take the Tigers first 5. Full game, I'd probably lean Tigers too, but I'm going to stay away because I don't trust the Tigers to actually hold the lead. Give me Tigers first 5, hoping that they can get 3 across against Archer, and we'll take our chances.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of gives me pause about the walk prop is that the Tigers are number 29 out of 30 teams as far as team walk percentage at 6.7. So
we don't strike out, but we also don't walk. It's just they suck.
Yeah. All right. Next game on the board, it's going to be an NL Central matchup. Chicago Cubs in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. 7:45 Eastern start. Keegan Thompson on the mound for the Chicago Cubs, and Adam Wainwright on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals. Looking at the lines for this game, -155 home favorites for the St. Louis Cardinals, +135 on the money line for the Chicago Cubs. Over-under set at 8 with juice towards the over at -115. Run line -1.5, +140 for the Cardinals, +1.5, -165 for the Cubbies. Looking at this game, Scott, I'll let you lead this one off, buddy.
I'm not going to spend much time on it. I'm going to go with the under. I know that it's juiced over to the 8, so maybe wait till 8.5. But you got Wainwright at home against the Cubs. Contreras might get traded, or he should be. Happ might get traded. He should be. We'll see what happens. I doubt both of them are going to stay. I'm assuming at least one of them will be gone. But Wainwright at home, I'm assuming will pitch well. And Keegan Thompson, his numbers on the road are not amazing, but you want to look at his recent numbers. He's been okay. And his overall season numbers, 3.16 ERA. I know the Cubs bullpen's a disaster, which is not a fun time, but I'm going to lean to the under. I think this total's a bit too high. If it gets to 8.5, I'll pounce on it. But at 8, I'll still take the under, but not as confidently.
Noah?
I think that's a super sharp play. Because you look at these two teams potentially could be the biggest. It's not going to make sense when I say it, but fire sales. You look at the Cardinals, if they pull the trigger on Juan Soto, which at this point we don't expect them to.
They're trading half.
They're trading half of their starters. It's Dylan Carlson. It's Tyler O'Neill. Harrison Bader might go. That's 3 starters off of this roster. And then you look at Wilson Contreras. He's gone. Scott already mentioned the Cubs. But this could be a huge underplay. Very, very sharp. Get in it now before these guys get traded, because I still like it with both aces on the mound. Maybe first 5 is the ultimate lock there.
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys just said, I agree with 100%. And Adam Wainwright, over his last 3 starts dating back to last year, since 2021, 22 innings pitched, he's only allowed 3 earned runs to the Chicago Cubs. So, and like we're saying that if Ian Happ or Wilson Contreras or some of the other guys are on the move here, I think this might be a good spot to take it under in this game as well. All right, guys, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the board, it's going to be the Baltimore Orioles in Texas, in Arlington, take on the Texas Rangers. 8:05 Eastern start. Jordan Lyles on the mound for the Baltimore Orioles. Spencer Howard on the mound for the Texas Rangers. Looking at the odds and the lines for this game, -115 home favorites for the Texas Rangers, -105 for the Baltimore Orioles. Over-under set at 8.5 with juice towards the over at -120. Run line -1.5, +160 for the Texas Rangers, and +1.5, -190 for the Baltimore Orioles. Noah, I'll let you lead this one off, bud.
Yeah, the morale in Baltimore is just kind of crushed, and this is only the beginning with Trey Mancini Monday night. I expect Jorge Lopez to also go, and maybe even Bautista. This bullpen's really good that they could honestly piece apart here and get a good return on. I will say this, the return, we didn't touch on this. The return for Mancini is a little bit interesting. They're both prospects that won't be in the MLB here in the coming years. It'll probably take them 2 to 3 years. They're both A-ball pitchers. But yeah, they were competing, winning games, and they still sold. So I think that's a huge morale downer. Here, Jordan Lyles, he's 7-8, 4.56 ERA, 97 strikeouts, 40 walks, and 118.1 innings pitched. It doesn't help the morale when he's got a 6.38 road ERA. And this Texas offense has been somewhat manageable. They have put up a couple of runs, or they have put up runs in a couple of games here. Spencer Howard, he's 2-2 on the year, 0 of 6 for quality starts, 5.93 ERA. 26 strikeouts, 12 walks, and 30.1 innings pitched. I lean Texas to win this game, but I like the overplay a little bit more. I think that runs are going to be scored galore in this one, and I like Texas to win it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the over. Spencer Howard killed me his last time out because I might have laid 135 with Ohtani first 5, and Howard gave up no runs. I'm going to credit that to the Angels being a useless franchise. I'm not going to fully give credit to Howard for that, but Howard's not any good. I mean, we've seen him for several years, either in Philly or in Texas. He's just not a good pitcher. And Lyles has been okay in spots, but Texas offensively has been good. We know that Seager's been hitting bombs. Garcia's still capable of generating a lot of power. And you mentioned how Baltimore might be trading the entire bullpen. That's kind of the only attractive trade pieces they have, right?
Yeah.
So I still think that if that's the case, then Baltimore's bullpen might be in shambles. We'll see what happens there. But I like the over as well. 2 pitchers I don't exactly like. Baltimore might be trading the only, I'd say, great pitching piece of that team, which is the bullpen. And Texas offensively has been good lately. So I'll go with the over.
Yeah, I don't want to put you under the bus here, but Corey Seager is still day-to-day with a leg injury. So he's been hitting bombs, but we don't even know if he's going to be in there, but still like the over.
That's a fair point to mention. I am not sure if he's going to play, so you can throw it in there. He's not on the IL, though, right?
No, he's just day-to-day.
That's what I'm saying. So
he has a bad bruise or something.
Yeah, it seems like Texas is kind of picking their spots. So maybe I'm just hoping that Seager is back in the lineup with.
I'm hoping too. I like.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, it's a good point to make, which I didn't fully mention. But point is, I still don't like either pitcher, so I'll go with the over.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. That was the play that I did like in this game, over 8.5. You guys already mentioned everything about these pitchers as well, so I won't waste too much time on that.
There's a whole lot of agreement on this pod.
Yeah, over 8.5 for this game between the Orioles and the Rangers. All right, next game on the board is going to be the Boston Red Sox in Houston to take on the Astros. 8:10 Eastern start. Cutter Crawford on the mound for the Boston Red Sox. Christian Javier is going to be on the mound for the Houston Astros. Looking at the opening lines for this game, Astros are a north of $2 favorite, minus 225 on the money line, plus 190 for the Boston Red Sox. Over under set at 8 with juice towards the under at minus 115. Run line minus 1.5, minus 110 for the Houston Astros. Plus 1.5, minus 110 as well for the Boston Red Sox. I'll leave this one off here, man. Cutter Crawford doesn't really excite me, I guess, to say the least, but
he's been okay.
Yeah, he hasn't been bad, and that's the whole thing, right? But like, I'm not sure how much faith I can put into this offense when they're missing, Rafael Devers. And again, this might be the last game tonight for JD Martinez in a Red Sox uniform, because he has been linked to and even Christian Vasquez, they've been linked to the New York Mets. I'm sorry. Cutter Crawford over his last 5 games, 1-1 with a 2.57 ERA. Last start against the Guardians, he was really good. 5 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run given up in that game. Prior to that, against the Blue Jays and the Rays, he gave up 3 earned runs in 6 innings. But again, lack of run support really has been the factor for Cutter Crawford. Christian Javier, he's been pretty decent for the Houston Astros on the season so far this year. 6-6 with 3.26 ERA at home, 4-3 with a 2.55 ERA. Last 5 games, he has struggled a little bit. 1-3 with a 4.56 ERA. He did struggle against the Oakland A's in his last start, where he did give up 3 earned runs to the A's there in 5 innings. But I have to go with the Astros run line here. I just don't have faith in this Boston Red Sox team right now. The offense, a lot of question marks. Again, like I said, Christian Vasquez may not be on this roster come on Tuesday night in this game. Same thing with JD Martinez. They've been linked to the Mets, and it just doesn't seem like, the Red Sox don't know what they want to do, because they are in the wild card hunt, but I'm not sure they have enough to even compete in the playoffs. And we don't know if Chris Sale's going to be back either. But as far as this game, Christian Javier on the mound, give me the Houston Astros on the run line here, Scott.
I was going to say Noah wants to say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Noah.
Did you bury the lead? Aren't you going to this game, Moonoff?
I am going to this game, yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
I am.
That's how you lead. Yeah. Over. Let's see some runs for him. Come on.
Yeah. Noah, why don't you give your handicap for this game if you have one?
My handicap is I think the Houston Astros have all of the momentum in this matchup. It's a nice little ALCS rematch too, but Boston has kind of been slumping. They're getting ready to sell. Javier has done everything that the Astros could have asked him to and more, in my opinion. The record's not there, but that's not his fault, and he's got a great ERA on the year. His last 4 have not been his sharpest outings, so it might be the beginning of a decline. I feel really bad because I dumped him off the Malcolm in fantasy, but I like the Astros. Sorry, Munaf.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the Astros too. Scott?
I agree, but I think you can have a bit of a cute spin on this if you want to take the Red Sox first 5 team total, probably over 1.5. Because you look at Javier's recent numbers, and his overall season numbers are good, but he's given up at least 3 earned runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. He's also not gotten past the 5th inning in each of his last 4 starts. So if you want to look for potentially buying low on a retooled Red Sox lineup, can we say that? I think 1.5 is not bad for a team total since Javier has been struggling recently. So that's what?
Sorry. No. When is this game time?
What
game
time is it at?
Yeah,
8:10
what time?
Eastern.
Okay, so you got an hour to wait and see what kind of action happens here, whether JD's gone, and if he is gone, buy it low, like Scott said.
Just saying, I think that just because Houston's going to win doesn't mean that there isn't any value to be found on Boston.
You're
If you want to take a unique spin, which, once again, you're back in pretty much a bunch of unknown commodities in the lineup, but Javier has not been good enough in the first 5 for a team total of 1.5, in my opinion, against him.
I don't know this, Munaf, but is Tristan Casas ready?
I don't think so.
That's
if he was,
right?
they would have brought him up by now.
Aren't they going to save him for September for the 40-man?
Yeah, that could be possibly it as well. But I just don't think that. With the lack of hitters that they do have right now, with Devers being out of the lineup and some of the other guys and opportunity being there, if they would have brought him up, they would have brought him up by now. But I agree with Scott. They're probably going to wait till September to bring him up, where they're probably going to be out of it in the playoff picture.
I just need 1 home run from Dahlback in the first 5, and maybe I can cash this team total over.
I'm a sucker for Bobby too.
I don't like him at all. I think he's a bad player, but he occasionally hits home runs. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. 2 games left on the schedule here to handicap at least. Let's go with the Kansas City Royals here at the Chicago White Sox, 8:10 Eastern start. Brady Singer on the mound for the Kansas City Royals. Lucas Giolito on the mound for the Chicago White Sox. Currently do not see a line for this game. Let me refresh the page here.
I see about 165, 170.
Okay. Lucas Giolito favored in this game.
Huge news. Did you guys see this?
No,
I did
Austin
not.
Riley deal.
10 years, 10 years, right?
12 mil.
Yeah.
Oh,
10 years. How much?
212.
Okay.
Wow. Not too bad.
It's a good deal for Atlanta. Just set the record for most extra base hits in a month.
Team friendly. Yeah. I'm surprised that they pay him and not Freddie.
Yeah, that was a whole debacle. I think that's an off-season conversation.
Well, I was going to say they allegedly paid Freddie. The agent just didn't tell him about it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Scott. I'll let you lead this game off with the Royals and the White Sox.
Well, we've agreed on a lot for this podcast. I think we actually might split here. I'm going to go with Kansas City, and they're a bad team. Don't get me wrong. I know Bobby Witt just got hit in the hand, so I'm not sure if he's even going to play in this game. But Perez is back, so they got somebody worth a damn. But the White Sox being favored minus 165 with Giolito, I just can't get behind. Singer was great against the Yankees on, I believe, Friday night, which they lost 1-0. But Singer has been good recently, and Giolito is a guy who I'm still not a big fan of. He pitches to contact in 2022, which isn't exactly a good recipe for success. But I think I'll go with Kansas City first 5 because that bullpen for Kansas City has been a mess lately. But I do think there's some value backing Singer against Giolito. Give me Kansas City.
Yeah, I like Kansas City team total in this game. Giolito at home so far this season, or since he made his return back, he hasn't been very good. He's 2-4 with a 6.28 ERA. If you kind of take a look at what has happened in his last couple of home starts against the Guardians, he gave up 6 earned runs in 3 innings. Against the Detroit Tigers, he gave up 5 earned runs in 6 2/3. Against the Toronto Blue Jays, he gave up 7 earned runs in about 5 innings. So he's giving it up at home. And I think that if you're able to finally, I don't know if it will be at a 1.5, but even at 2.5, I think the Royals can put up some runs. I mean, we saw them do it against the Yankees this weekend. But
You get a
Julio,
first five team.
Yeah,
total
first
1.5.
Yeah. So that's something I would go with in this game. And if the run line on the Royals is at a decent price as well, that's one way I would look at this game as well. But Noah, Royals and White Sox here.
The Royals are feisty. I didn't think.
Why do we agree on everything?
I don't know. I didn't think that we were, but
we have a lot of shitty pitchers.
Well, 165 is not a great price on Giolito. I mean, it's the name. That's what it is. It's like you mentioned it earlier with the Yankees, and Giolito has been great earlier in his career. Coming off of injury this year, he is not. And Singer has been rolling lately. I think he's had 2 great starts in a row. So I really like the price on Kansas City. If you're looking for a different play from me, Kansas City first 5.
All right. So we have a couple games left here. I know the Oakland A's are in LA to take on the Angels. Frankie Montas was going to be on the mound for them, but like we talked about at the top of the show, he's now being traded over to the New York Yankees.
Probable pitcher for the Angels too is Syndergaard, and he might get dealt too.
And he might get dealt as well.
Can Sears start for Oakland?
Who knows?
Who knows? Possibly.
It's an option.
Yeah.
We don't have a pitcher for Oakland, but I'm going to lean to Oakland anyway because whatever the Angels are, they're going to be overpriced.
It's probably
true. I don't have much for this game either. Noah, do you have anything else?
Syndergaard 5-8, 3.83 ERA, 64 strikeouts, 22 walks, 80 innings pitched. He's been a guy that he's been rolling with his strikeouts lately. He gives up runs, but he does tally up the strikeout total pretty easily.
One thing on this game: stolen base props.
Yeah,
over.
On Syndergaard.
Take the Tony Kemp. Kemp. Anybody who can get on base, just anybody who might get on first base. His Syndergaard is, I'd say, John Lester level bad at keeping runners on first base.
Kemp has found a little bit of a power stroke. He hit 2 of them over the past 5 games.
But he can get on base, so I don't mind a stolen base prop if you want to fade Syndergaard.
Yeah, this is I think something we also talked about in the Discord channel as well. With when Syndergaard is on the mound looking at some stolen base props for him. But I agree with you guys there. Oakland, they are number 25 in the entire league as far as team strikeout percentage. So maybe if Syndergaard keeps that strikeout prop rolling, that's something to explore when those lines do drop for this game as well. All right, gentlemen.
This deal that the Braves made with Riley, biggest in franchise history.
That's interesting. I wonder what Acuna is going to get then.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Last game on the board. The LA Dodgers are in San Francisco to take on the Giants. 9:45 Eastern start. Tyler Anderson on the mound for the LA Dodgers. Alex Wood is on the mound for the San Francisco Giants. Looking at the lines for this game, currently seeing the Dodgers are a -140 favorite, and the Giants are a home puppy, +120 on the money line. Over under set at 8 with juice towards the under at -115. Run line -1.5, +125 for the Dodgers, and the Giants +1.5, -145 for the run line on them. Tyler Anderson this season has been pretty good for the Dodgers. He is on the season 11-1 with a 2.61 ERA, 91 strikeouts. Not a big strikeout guy, but he does also have 19 walks on the season so far this year. Over his last 5 games this season, 3-0 with a 1.11 ERA, 32 1/3 innings pitched, only allowed 4 earned runs in that span. Did face the Giants earlier this year, where he, which was actually back on July 22nd. He only gave up one run in that game. It wasn't earned, but he went 6 innings in that game, only allowed 4 hits as well to the San Francisco Giants. On the road this season, 5-1 with a 2.63 ERA, 16 earned runs allowed in 52 2/3 innings pitched. Alex Wood, left-handed pitcher on the mound for the San Francisco Giants. Not very good for him on the season thus far. As my page loads up here, he is 7-8 on the season with a 4.11 ERA, 99 strikeouts and 25 walks. He has been good over his last 5 games with a 2-1 record with a 1.65 ERA, but against the Dodgers this season, 0-2 with a 4.85 ERA. And again, the Giants offense just really hasn't been there this season, especially in the second half of the season's All-Star game. So I feel like we're getting a little bit of a discounted price here on Tyler Anderson for the Dodgers. I possibly, and anytime I do bet on the Dodgers, I'm automatically looking at the run line for them because most of their games or most of their victories this season have come by 2 or more runs. So at a plus price here with Tyler Anderson, -1.5, plus 125, I will take that with the Dodgers. Scott, what do you got for this game?
For me, I'm going to go with the Dodgers as well. I like Anderson. I'm not a big fan of Wood. The Dodgers had a historically good July, so they're in great form. And I still think the Giants might sell at the deadline. There's rumors about Rodon. It wouldn't surprise me if Jock Peterson potentially is traded. I don't think Peterson would play in this game anyway because Anderson's a lefty, but you get my point. The point is the Giants are selling some pieces. The Dodgers just swept them about a week ago. But Anderson, I really like. Wood, I'm really not a big fan of. And the Dodgers are the better team. So I'll go with the Dodgers.
Noah?
I'm quickly doing a little bit of math before I give out my nugget on Wood, but I am actually a little bit higher on Wood than Scott is. Wood has a 1.8 ERA in his last 4 starts. He pitched great in July. So for me, I gave out this angle in the Discord channel yesterday when a lot of people started to go with, the tailor-made Dodger -1.5. This year, not counting Monday night's game, we'll see what happens. But I actually have the Giants winning Monday night as well. The Giants are 3-0 at Oracle and 0-7 at Dodger Stadium. All of these games have been really close and exciting. And with them being a dog and how hot Wood has been, barring any trades, whether it's Jock, but I don't think Jock's really going to start against the left-handed pitcher. I like the Giants to win this one. So I'm going to play them as a dog here with Alex Wood on the mound. I like the way that he's been pitching his recent form. So
yeah. I'm just happy we disagreed about something.
Yeah, finally, the last game of the day.
The last game of the board, huh? All right, guys, before we get into our lock and dog, let me tell you about the newest sponsor on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is going to be Odds Trader. And a lot of times, guys, we're looking for that one place where we can find the best odds at the many different sports books that are offered, all across, whether it's in Vegas, whether it's the win bets of the world. Odds Trader provides that platform for you. They also provide a platform where you can keep track of your bets. Maybe some people are old school that like to use that pen and paper, but they have a bet tracker. So, bettors like ourselves can keep track of all of our games and our betting activity. They also provide handicapping stats, play-by-play updates, live scores, and bet tracking, like I mentioned, player statistics, key game statistics, and also projected game day weather. And like I mentioned, it's really cool to use their bet tracker that allows you to keep records of all the bets that you do place. So all you have to do is just go to oddstrader.com/Blue Wire to get into all those features that they do offer. It's oddstrader.com/Blue Wire. OddsTrader, the #1 site for all your game day bets.
So more breaking news before we get to the lock and dog. Mets, the Astros acquired a Vasquez, no JD Martinez.
Okay,
So
congrats. You got yourself a catcher.
A nice little trade right before your series, Muno.
Nice. Christian Vasquez just switching locker rooms now over to the Houston Astros. That's going to be interesting to see tomorrow. All right, gentlemen.
Jason Castro gave it a hell of a run there with Houston.
Same with Maldonado. Maldonado had no bat. He was all defense.
Oh, Maldonado, they're going to keep him around.
They're going to keep him. No, Castro is being told to take a hike.
Yeah.
There you go.
For the 4th time. All right, guys, let's get into our lock and dog for the Tuesday night schedule. Scott, I'll let you lead it off, buddy. Lock and dog for the games here.
So for my lock, I am going to go with a first 5 under between the Diamondbacks and the Guardians. I just really like the spot for both pitchers. McKenzie's been amazing at home lately. He's been great overall. Gallen's been good, and he gets no run support, which is a win-win for me. But you're going to be looking at a first 5, probably a 3.5, which seems low. I don't think it is because Arizona can't hit at all. They already traded Peralta. They might even be trading another piece or two. We'll see. But either way, I do think you'll see a very low-scoring start to that game. I'll take the first 5 under in that Diamondbacks and Guardians game.
All right, and your dog for the night.
My dog's going to be the Mariners' first 5 on the money line. You're getting Gilbert at a great price against Tyone. Tyone's been a mess. And the Yankees offensively have been really trying to come from behind a lot. And it seems like for the first couple innings, they do nothing, with the exception of Judge, of course. But I like Gilbert as a pitcher. I think it's a great price, and I'm going to use the Yankees tax in my favor. I'm going to take the Mariners first 5 money line.
All right, so lock for Scott under in the Diamondbacks and the Guardians game, and then his
First
dog.
5. The first 5 under.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, first 5 for Guardians and the Diamondbacks, and the first 5 money line for his dog is going to be the Mariners' first 5 inning money line against his New York Mets in the Tuesday
Yankees,
schedule.
close enough.
Oh, I'm sorry, Yankees.
Yeah, all good.
All right, Noah, your turn, my man. Lock and dog. What do you got?
The lock is going to be Atlanta -1.5. They have right now the better bullpen and Nick Nelson starting for Philadelphia, whereas Spencer Strider's going for Atlanta. The Philly offense has been rolling as of late, but Atlanta, I look for them to make some moves here at the deadline, rejuvenate, maybe try to catch this Mets team in the NL East race. But it starts with this one, and Strider, 323 in July. Again, he had one bad start, and of course, it was against the Nationals of all teams. He gave up 5 runs. If you take that one out, he had a 1.23 ERA in July. My dog, I'm not going first 5. I think that's more of a sharper play. I like Seattle +140 money line. Yeah, sure. The Yankees do pounce on the bullpens lately, or like late in games, but Seattle's bullpen has been better as of late, and they were one of the best bullpens last year. So with all of these guys getting healthier, I really like Seattle and this price tag going up against the Yankees today.
All right, there we go. So the bet is going to be you got Braves run line -1.5 as your lock there, Noah, and the dog full game money line for the Seattle Mariners against the New York Yankees. For my lock, I am gonna go just a couple of plays that I do like here. For my lock, let's go with I'm gonna go with the Cardinals run line -1.5 +135 with Adam Wainwright on the mound. I mean, he's owned the Chicago Cubs offense, and we don't know who's going to be on this roster come Tuesday night. And I don't think Wilson Contreras is going to be there. I don't think Ian Happ is going to be there. Cardinals at home. We can say the same thing about the Cardinals offense as well if they do try to get Juan Soto, but I just feel like the pitching matchup here just favors Adam Wainwright with everything that we talked about. So I'm gonna take the run line here for the St. Louis Cardinals -1.5 +135. For my dog, I'm going to go with the LA Dodgers run line -1.5 +125. Tyler Anderson, again, has been really great so far this season for the LA Dodgers. He's been great on road. He's been great at home. He's done well against the San Francisco Giants, and I'm just not a believer in Alex Wood, even though recently he has been good, but against the Dodgers, he just hasn't been very good. And anytime I do like the Dodgers, I'm looking at that run line. So getting a nice plus price there for me on the Dodgers as a dog is something that's very enticing to me. So that's going to be my lock. 2+ plays, -1.5 on the run line for the Cardinals and -1.5 for the Dodgers on the run line as well. You could flip flop it either way and get 10 more cents with the Cardinals as a dog as well. All right, gentlemen, that's going to do it for this edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to get off your chest and let the people know where they can find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Rice Show Radio. It's nice to be back on the MLB show. Been a while. Besides that, of course, still doing WNBA stuff, doing tennis, doing NBA. Keeping busy, and so is Munaf. So looking forward to making more content.
100%. Noah, anything else you need to get off your chest before we get out of here?
More breaking news, and this one maybe not so friendly. The Ricel's team, the Yankees have moved Luis Severino to the 60-day, so Montas is going to be a direct replacement for him. Severino might be a long reliever in the playoffs. But yeah, fun having Ricel on. I think this is the second time I've talked to him on the pod, and always great conversation. And as you can see, this pod ran right to our 1 hour, 30-minute mark. That we like to have as a max. Again, wherever you're listening to podcast wise, whether it's Apple, Spotify, leave a like, rating, review, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And Yeah, I'll be following up on Twitter, MLB, SGPN, all of this news. I'm just kind of filtering it back out to you guys, whatever I see, giving either a retweet or just a little bit of a comment on whatever happens. So exciting times, and then we get into the dog days, and then more exciting times as the pennant chases close down.
By the way, Tommy Pham just got traded.
Really?
They didn't say where. They just said he got traded.
Really?
Thanks a lot, Rosenthal. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Okay.
All right, guys, that's going to do it here for the MLB pod. Make sure you have those notifications on for all the trades that are happening by the second here in MLB as we approach ever so close to the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. Good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.